My wife has a condition called neofibromatosis. In her case, they found two on her spinal cord on the C1, C2 vertebrae area. On March 29th, they removed the tumors. She made it through the surgery. Everything was still moving. She was able to walk. We came home and she was sitting in the chair in the living room, and out of nowhere, she said her head started to hurt. And within an hour of her head starting to hurt, she started going, "Ah! Ah! Ah! My head's gonna explode! My head's gonna explode! Ah!" So we ended up taking her back to the hospital to find out that the suture where they'd done the surgery had came back open and sprung a leak, which was causing her brain to seat in her skull because the fluid in her brain was leaking out. It wasn't able to keep fluid in her brain. Well, we go back to the hospital, and they put a shunt device in to control the leakage from her spine. All right, everything's still going good. She's all right. We come back home. Soon after that, not probably a couple weeks or so, I guess. She starts having tingly feelings in her right hand and her right foot. She can no longer pee, so we go back to the hospital. Get shipped back to the UAMS hospital to find out that they were just going to send us home. They were done with the surgery. That's all they wanted to do. Well, the nurse said, no, there's something else wrong with her. And they look into it, and they find out finally that abdomen area here, her spinal cord is ballooning out, filling with fluid. Well, we now have to put another shunt device in to draw the fluid out to bring it back to normal. Well, they do all that. She still has all of her movements, all that good stuff, just real weak from surgeries and, medication and anesthesia. They set us up for rehab to go to the Baptist rehab there in Little Rock, Arkansas. At that point on July the 1st, 2013, she is transported from UAMS hospital to the Baptist rehab. And in the rehab, on the way there, this is what she told me happened, because my wife was then paralyzed from her neck down.
I come and step in the wheelchair, my head is on my lap. Three times. Yes. Yeah, it stopped 3 times and helped me.
Okay? At this point, she's now paralyzed from her neck down. Trying to figure out what happened, she said she came unstrapped and whiplash progressed her condition to paralyzation. The second day we're in the rehab facility, she starts having breathing complications where her oxygen levels were dropping in the low to mid 20s and having seizures. At this point, we're trying to figure out why ain't we looking to find the problem. Well, we ended up spending 15 days in the rehab trying to rehab her back. And on July the 15th, they were going to just send us home, but the UAMS wanted to take another look at her. On the 16th, they knew there was a change in the scan. Her brain was swelling. They're talking emergency surgery because, with the swelling in her brain, she could fall asleep and never wake up. Okay, this is emergency surgery. It took a week to do the surgery. A week from the 16th to the 23rd. Why? Why did we have to wait so long? Why wasn't there nothing done? Why was she left in the rehab after this? Why weren't you taking care of her brain? And 1 week to that day, she went into, I think it was a week, pretty much. She went into respiratory arrest, which led to cardiac arrest, which led to the longest drive of our lives from the phone call, saying that she had went into respiratory arrest, which we found out later ended up being cardiac arrest because her heart stopped. They had to shoot adrenaline up into her arm, shock her heart. When we got there, I went in and a woman doctor came in to talk to me, and she told me that I needed to prepare for the worst because she wasn't going to make it long. At this point, I looked over at my wife, and her eyes just got as big as silver dollars, like, huh? Just trembling in fear. And we had a little argument about talking to me about that kind of stuff in front of her. I guess they didn't realize that she was awake. Okay, now she was now ventilator dependent, paralyzed from her neck down. At this point, our kids weren't even allowed to go in there because they didn't think that they needed to see their mom die. I thought that they needed to see her mom, if she was going to die, at least one last time. In the course of the months being there, you know, the only way she could call for help was they had a little straw that came over she could breathe into, call for help. She's paralyzed from her neck down, but she can still feel complete pain through her body. I'm talking agonizing, screaming pain. Their version of hope, healing, and care for the family was she was disturbing too many people, so we would shut the door, silence the alarms, and move her straw away so she could no longer call for help. Had several arguments about that. For being paralyzed and never able to walk again, never ever going to be able to breathe again, not even live. My wife is now breathing on her own during the day. We're going down on July the 2nd to work on taking her off the vent for at nighttime. She's walking. All these things that they say is a miracle. No, the real miracle is that they didn't kill my wife, because once the involvement in the van ride from the UAMS hospital to the Baptist rehab there in Little Rock, they just act like it didn't happen. It didn't happen. A progression to my wife's condition is permanent. Okay, there's two. We eliminated one by the surgery. The tumors were going to pinch onto the spinal cord, pinching off life, going to cause what they called sudden death stroke syndrome. We eliminated that by removing the tumors. The second one is the little tentacles that grow off the tumors would have grown into the spinal cord, cutting off part of life, which in nobody's case, no human has a rejuvenating spinal cord where it just grows itself back together and says, "Ha ha, we work again." They just call it a progression of her condition with no real answer. No real answer? There was an answer. You're just hiding the fact that you transported my wife with a stable spinal cord, in which all these things were happening. I don't see how it could have been stable. And I knew I was on the right track, but we can't get lawyers because the state of Arkansas apparently doesn't allow you to just take these guys, because in the name of science, that's what was best for business. Not my wife's life, not my family. It just continued on. To the point where she had a bed sore. And then she accumulated E. coli because they just allowed her to lay in her own crap until it dried up to the point of E. coli, staph infections. I couldn't go home because when I go home, they'd call me and they'd be like, "You're coming back? Or you're coming back, aren't you?" Of course I'm coming back. That's my wife. I love her. Just because you don't love her, I do. Her life is important to me. It wasn't important to y'all. Because it was in your best interest at this point that she died. And and here's a little look. Okay, we went in for a ventilator training to see about checking her for a vent, and she was supposed to stay off 2 or 3 hours. They were going to come in, pull blood gases from her arterial vein to check her blood gases to make sure that the CO2 and the oxygen levels were good. Okay, by them being good, that means it wouldn't cause brain damage. Well, they weren't going to do that. They were just going to leave us there for 2 or 3 hours, come in, take her vent, send us home and go, "Hi, hope you make it," without really knowing if she's able to sustain life off the vent. Okay? They have their own private police force up there, so if you argue and say, no, you're not doing that, no, that's not the right way, I thought we were supposed to do this and supposed to do that before we knew. You argue and have arguments with them, and then they call their police up there to tell you that you need to let the doctors do what they say or I'll escort you out of the building. Escort me out of the building? No, you'll escort both of us out of the building is what I told them. I said, man, these guys haven't run any tests. They don't know a dang thing. They just know they're going to take all this stuff away from her and go, "Hope you live. And if you don't, the progression of this condition killed you. Yeah, the transport from the UAMS hospital to the rehab was going to kill her because they weren't going to respond or react or try to do anything to figure out what was going on. You know, we had talks then after that on the next visits about we're lowering her vent breaths at night so we can wing her away from the vent slowly to make sure that she's going to come off this thing right. Well, they're lowering the vent down a couple breaths. I go down after that, and we go down to get medical records, and I start asking for specific medical records. And by the time my nurse gets here, she says that we're not going to be here too much longer because they're taking her off the vent. What do you mean they're taking her off the vent? Here we go again. We've not done any kind of tests. We've not done anything because I went down there and got medical records, and then they retaliated by saying that they were just going to move her off her vent, remove the trach system. They talked about doing all that, and the nursing facility was kind of like, well, I don't understand that because she could aspirate. If she was to aspirate while we're at the house, she's in serious trouble again. Here we go. Hope you have a good life. Hope you make it. Excuse me? I don't think so. And everybody that we know that gets this needs to pass this out because people need to know what happens off in this butchering hospital. Because you know what? That's wrong. You don't treat human life like it's I don't see rat nowhere. And I don't even think they're allowed to use really rats anymore because that's inhumane to animals. But then again, it's okay to do it to humans. You tell me what's right. This surgery that they did apparently was one of their first surgeries when they told us that it wasn't their first rodeo. And which we were later informed that, yeah, I think it was. We were coached into a surgery to begin with. Everything kind of went all right, so we just kind of let things kind of go. And to get this treatment to help science, when does science stop? When does human life become more important at this point than science? It never did, and it still hasn't. In their eyes. That's why we're no longer going to be going back there. We're changing up doctors. We finally got somebody that'll take it because before nobody wanted a part of this. Nobody. They just kept sending us back there because at this point they don't want a part of that. No. Explain to me how they're allowed to do this. People just don't know. Things like this used to be illegal in state hospitals and stuff, where they do things to humans and then found out that these are torture. They're torturing human beings. That's not right. You can't ask for nothing. You can't ask for an advocate there. You can't get someone to help fight for your rights because, it's all about the science. Science, science, science. What do you say, baby? Would you ever do that again?
Hell no.
Not at that place.
Not at that
There
place.
is no way. No way. Unless forced to have to go there because there is absolutely nobody else that will receive her after all this. I mean...
And then I'd have to think about going back there.
We'd almost have to think about just risking it at home. Ain't that what they wanted us to do? Hell, that might be an option. It might be safer to stay at home. They were going to ship you to Louisiana nursing homes. They were just trying to stick you in a home because as soon as they got you out of state, oh, yeah, we got you ready. No, you'd have had to stay in this place for a month. And then we would have had to fight to get you out because they'd let you lay there and rot. Instead, we took you home like loving families do. And this is where we're at now. Now let's get up and walk around a minute. You're talking about a person that's paralyzed from her chin down, breathing issues. A progression of what condition? No, a progression, slow down, baby. A progression that they progressed and just calling it in the name of science because they have no explanation for what happened. Except for, it didn't happen like that. Hold on there, baby. We're going to beat this.
Yes,
and beating
we
this
are.
means it's not a progression of her condition because a progression of her condition is permanent. And ultimately, it's death. Peace out.